Welcome back to Scandinavian Design 101. I'm Sanna.
I'm Andreas, and we're two Swedes, and we love design. And today we're going to talk about an extremely famous series of lamps, often simply called pH lamps, pH-lampor, after their creator, Poul Henningsen. And more specifically, we're going to unravel why they were given their different model numbers and what those model numbers actually stands for.
It's quite difficult.
Yeah.
But first, a brief background. In the fall of 1925, a new exhibition hall was to be built in Copenhagen. And Henningsen was commissioned to design the lamps for the building. The result was a development of a lamp he had exhibited at the Paris World's Fair the same year. But the new lamp was made from copper and it had a top shade like a plate.
Yeah.
Tongue twister.
Yeah.
A middle shade shaped like a bowl and a bottom shade shaped like a cylinder.
Yeah.
The classic Henningsen 3-shade lamp was born. This legendary classic was actually designed in just a short period of time in November and December 1925. About 100 of these lamps were delivered to the exhibition hall in the spring of 1926. Tragically, during the Second World War, the exhibition hall was destroyed and the first ever 3-shade pH lamps were sold as metal scrap for as little as $35. Now over to the model numbers.
Yeah. The 3-shade lamp was first included in the Louis Poulsen catalogue in the summer of 1926. And in this catalogue, 5 pendant lamps were included. The pH 88, 66, 55, 44 and 33. But what did this mean? First of all, we must understand one thing. All these lamps had the same proportion between the shades. It was 3:1. For example, if the top shade was 30 centimeters, the middle shade was 20 and the bottom shade 10 centimeters. And this proportion was optimal for a high-hanging pendant lamp. The first number, here the for example 4 in 4/4, states the approximate diameter of the top shade in decimeters. For example, the pH 4/4 had a diameter of 4 decimeters.
40 centimeters.
Yes. No problem to understand so far. This is quite simple. But what does the second number stand for? Well, the second 4 in the 4/4 lamp has nothing whatsoever to do with the actual measurement. Instead, it tells us that the proportion between the shades is 3:1. And to clarify this, because it is a bit tricky, the first 4 means that the diameter of the top shade is 4 decimeters. And the second 4 means that the middle and the bottom shade is intended to be used with the 4 decimeter top shade, creating a lamp with a proportion 3:1. And that was a whole lamp, as Henningsen called it. But all these lamps had the same number before and after the slash. What about, for example, pH 3:2 and 4:3 and so on? First of all the original lamps were, as we already know, intended to hang high up in the ceiling. The proportion 3:1 wasn't suitable for hanging low or over a table, for example, or being used as a floor lamp or table lamp. Henningsen solved this problem in 1927, introducing new lamps. The first of these lamps, intended to hang over a table, was the pH 6:3, 5:3 and 4:3. And the first number is, of course, the size of the diameter. We know that of the top shade. We know that by now. But the second number, 3, for example, here, means that the middle and the bottom shade were actually intended to be used with a top shade of 3 decimeters. And this means that the middle and the bottom shade of the pH 4:3 is somewhat smaller than of the pH 4:4, and the proportion is no longer 3:1.
Okay, makes sense. To complicate everything even more, in 1929 Henningsen introduced half sizes of some of the shades. For example, pH 3.5/3.
Yeah.
3.5, 3.
Yeah.
Luckily, this isn't as complicated as it sounds.
No.
3.5 just means that the top shade has a diameter of approximately 3.5 decimeters.
Yeah.
So it's quite simple, but it looks
very advanced.
It does. And it's important to understand that model names only tell us the size of the shades and their proportions. It doesn't say anything about what kind of lamp it actually is.
No.
A pH 3.2 can be a pendant lamp, a table lamp, or a floor lamp. And it doesn't say anything about what material the shades are made from. A pH 3.2 can be made from both glass and metal, or a combination of both.
Yeah.
Hope you understand the model names now. I kind of do.
Yeah, I
Just kind of.
yeah. And lastly, I've been asked how to tell the age of an old pH lamp, and that can be quite interesting. And there are some things one can look for. And first of all, the 3-shade pH lamp was patented in the spring of 1928. And lamps produced before that are often marked patent applied or pat apple. Yeah. And after the spring of 1928, lamps were often instead marked patented. So that's a easy way to tell if you have a really, really early pH lamp. And you should also take a closer look at the 3 small arms holding the shades. The first lamps had casted metal arms, but in 1929 they were replaced by wire arms used until the early 1940s, when the casted arms were reintroduced. And this time the arms were poorly casted. This wasn't during the Second World War, so that's the reason. And they were not at all in the same quality as the original ones. So it's a good way to tell age, also to look at the arms holding the shades.
Great tips.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this short episode. Hope you learned something. That's the most important.
Yes, it is.
If you want to read more about this, we can highly recommend this book.
Yeah.
Is it called Light Years Ahead?
Yeah, it's there are an English version and a Danish version. We have the Danish version.
Taend.
It's called Taend. But it's also Light Years Ahead is the English version.
It's really great, but you can't read this one probably.
No.
I can't either.
Almost not. And the problem is it's out of print since long, but you can find it at some different antiquarians and online. So it's a great book.
It really is.
Yeah. And thanks a lot for watching this episode.
Aren't you going to tell them to follow us on Instagram?
Yeah, you should. You should. First of all, they should subscribe if they don't do already.
They have.
Yeah, and follow us on Instagram. We are called Scandinavian Design 101. And thanks for watching.
Thank you.